All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. And thank you guys for your patience. So, my name is Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and I want to thank you guys for joining us today on our presentation on understanding measurements inside of Bluebeam Review. So, let's go ahead and jump into what should hopefully be a pretty short and easy to follow presentation. For those of you who haven't worked with us before, we are ZenTek Consultants. We're a premier Bluebeam partner, and that means we provide sales, technical support, and training on Bluebeam and all of its related products. As a matter of fact, we even have developed and sell our own industry-specific tool chests that plug in right inside of your Bluebeam Review product to help you with all the measurements and markups. Pretty much what we're going to talk about today. And we hope you guys will keep in mind that we do sell the software, and because we are a premier Bluebeam partner, we can always get you better pricing than you'll get going with Bluebeam Direct. So when it comes time to do upgrades or buy new seats, we hope you guys will keep us in mind. So what are we going to talk about today? So why is Bluebeam Review such an important tool? Everybody kind of knows, and Bluebeam has this really extensive reputation of being the premier markup tool on the market. Everyone knows that you can take Bluebeam and you can open up PDFs and you can add comments and callouts and markups and images and freehand things on top of it. And it's really powerful in that respect, and it's a really great tool. But there is a lot more to Bluebeam Review than most people really understand. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch base on today. The fact that there is an entire estimating and takeoff functionality built directly into Bluebeam that is probably the simplest to use out there, while still being the most versatile and powerful that's out there on the market today. And that's a little bit of what we're going to cover today. We're just going to talk about what those tools are, what they do, what the capabilities are. And obviously this is a fairly short presentation, so I can't train you guys on how to use it, but I did at least want to show you guys what some of those measurement tools are, how they work, and what kind of functionality you have built into all versions of Bluebeam Review. And it really doesn't matter which version of Bluebeam Review you're working with. Most of these tools that we're going to talk about today, you'll have at your disposal. One or two of them are specific to the extreme version of Review, and I will identify those when we get to them. So what is so important about Bluebeam Review? Well, right off the bat, it comes with an entire suite of markup tools. So you can see, or excuse me, measurement tools. So you see up here, I got measurement tools. I can calibrate, meaning scaling drawings, and I'll show you that in a minute. We can do basic dimensioning and measuring. So I can go into any object that I have. So you see from here, it's measuring on my site plan that I've got 9 feet 2 inches, right, from side to side, which is probably not correct, right? But that's okay, because it's important to understand that Bluebeam is going to take this into account and realize that a very common problem we run into when we're dealing with PDFs is that people don't scale them. They take a 30 by 42 document and they figure, you're only looking at it online anyway. It doesn't need to be to scale, right? So you get from the architect or the engineer, whoever the sending party is, they send you something that they printed on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, figuring you're only going to zoom and pan on the screen. Well, how do you take that and go the next step into actually scaling this? And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. And you see we've got lengths for poly lengths and perimeters, areas, volumes, cutouts, and other measurement tools. We can do basic counting, how many objects you have. So we're going to talk about, I'm trying to talk about today, at least a very fast, very, very high level, simple overview of all of these tools. So let's start with the concept of scaling and calibrating excuse me, a PDF document. Like I said, it's a very common thing for people to send you a reduced 8.5 by 11 out of their CAD system. They pretty much just hit print, and if you're lucky, they enabled landscape view, and then they just said print, and that's it. Not realizing they just reduced this thing down to about 1/10 of its actual original design scale. This is not a problem with Bluebeam Review. Okay, and again, like, we're going to use this lot here. You see right now, scaling is 9 feet 2 inches, and that's a pretty small lot to have on our roadway. But it's not a problem, because with Bluebeam Review, I can just come in and very simply just picking any 2 points that I know the distance between. Let's say I know that's 100-foot frontage. Right? I can just go ahead, and now I've calibrated the entire drawing. So now when I go in and I start doing measurements on these items, right? So when I go from here to here, okay, you see it's actually 100 feet. Okay, That quick, that simple. I brought everything in this entire document up to scale. So now when I start using all of these measurement tools that we're talking about today, I know that everything's going to be to the right length, the right area sizes, and so on. So real easy, real powerful way to work with that. Okay, so let's talk about some of these tools we have here. One of the ones that's a real important tool is the concept of a poly length. And this is a real versatile, for those of you who've done CAD work, it's similar to a poly line. And it lets you work with any number of linear structures. So for example, here on a site plan, maybe I'm running some storm drainage, and I've got some pipe that runs from here to here, and it's going to end up here kind of at the center, right? And you see that what it's doing for me is it's keeping track of the individual segment lengths, okay, as I draw them, measured to scale based on the scale that I set, earlier on, and it's giving me a running total of these. And what's great about all Bluebeam Revu objects is that you can actually structure and sort each of these by a subject and a label. So like I said, if this was storm drainage, okay, I can put a subject of storm drainage and say, hey, this is a 18-inch RCP. Okay, so there you go. Just like that, I'm able to start keeping track of what those items are, right? And then as I go through and I do other poly lengths, right? Maybe I got a different size one, it kind of taps off the center here and runs out that way. Okay, I can do the same thing here. I can just go ahead and set that, right, to be in the same storm drainage category, right? But maybe this one is only a 12-inch RCP. It's a smaller pipe we're tapping off. Okay, so just like that, I can start to create and easily modify the labeling. But what's great about that is that it also keeps track of it down here on the bottom for me, where I can actually start to sort and filter these either by categories, all the storm, all the sanitary, all the paving, etc., for a civil job. But I can also break these down by label. So you see it'll actually start sorting for me, right? If I'm doing, say maybe just the storm drainage takeoff in this particular file, it'll break it down into sizes. How many linear feet of 18-inch? How many linear feet of 12-inch? Right? And that same linear structure works just as easily, just as well. So I jump over here to a floor plan, right? So if I want to come in and run poly lengths and say, okay, hey, you know what? I've got a hot water pipe that's coming in here, and it's going to turn and run this way, and then come down and feed offices down here. Same thing. Now I can just go ahead and switch that from being a general poly length measurement to being a water pipe. Okay, and I can say, hey, that's a 1-inch hot water line. Right? And I can continue on, do more hot water lines topping off, do the cold water. Right? And the great thing about working with Bluebeam is it gives you this basic structure, very easy to use. And all of these are editable, by the way. They're dynamic. So if there are changes made, if say, hey, no, we're not going to go all the way up there. We're actually going to wrap around the outside of that office that way. We're going to come in and turn around and go back. See, I can just grab and stretch and modify these to whatever lengths and sizes I need, right? And it updates and does the total calculation again on the overall length based on what I have running here. Okay, and again, you can see this drawing really not calibrated quite to scale on the floor plan, but I could fix that easily, just like I did with the site plan. But what's really nice about these is that I also have the ability to go in and modify all the display properties. All right, so I can go in and I can change the fonts, okay, for everything. I can change the colors of the fonts, right, whether or not I want to show the individual segment lengths or just the overall summary for the pipe. Right, I can change the color of the pipe. Right, so if I want it to be purple, I can change the different line types. So if I need it to be dash for hot water versus solid for cold, right, I can change the width of the line. If I need to show thicker lines versus thinner lines, right, I can do that. All kinds of controls. I can do anything I need here to fully control and set up and deal with all the property layouts of any measurement object that I create. Okay, so that's a basic concept behind linear measurements. And like I said, remember, they're all fully dynamic, and we can go back in and edit these and modify these. And like I said, if I needed to add extra bends in here at any point, I can actually go in, right, and I can add additional control points. So I can start to add in extra bends as I need them, and then I can just stretch those control points off. So I never have to delete and erase and redo. I can actually just modify any measurements that I've done on a linear side. Very, very useful tool. So likewise, we get that same kind of functionality with areas. It makes it very, very easy for us to go in and quickly calculate an area. So if I wanted to go in and say I had to calculate the area of this storage room, right? Notice that this is just a PDF underneath, but that with Bluebeam Revu, I'm able to actually snap to the actual line work, just like I would in a CAD system. So I can actually go in here and I can actively snap and get really nice, accurate measurements, right? And you see here it says 18 square feet, all right, which is probably, like I said, if I go back and calibrate this real fast, and let's just say I know that the hallway, right, from here to here, I know that that is an 8-foot wide hallway, right? And I can just go ahead. And you see that when I do that, any measurements, anything that I have in place, dynamically update. And just like with the linear structures, all of your area measurements are dynamic and modifiable. So if the underlying PDF changes, you can just insert the page, re-update the underlying PDF, leave your measurements in place, and then make any tweaks or changes that you need to. All right, and just like you can do with the linear structures, you can actually modify the look and the display and the subjects and properties. So you see here, this is floor finish, and maybe this is, you know, I don't know, let's call it 2-inch oak floor, right? So I can actually start to keep track of exactly what that object is. But I can do the same things. I can even with this come in here and I can turn on different fill colors. So if I wanted to fill it in and make it transparent so I can see through it, I can even apply hatch patterns, right? So if I had, you know, particular types of flooring that I wanted to show in here, right, I can go in and I can throw hatch patterns. I can change the colors of my hatch patterns, the scale of my hatch patterns, make them smaller, tighter, up or down, right? So that I can actually go ahead and get the visual presentation that I need to be able to quickly differentiate between, you know, what's floor, what's oak floor, what's carpet, what's tile, etc. And what's great about any and all of these tools inside of Bluebeam Revu, any of these measurement options, is that you can actively add these to a tool chest. All right, Bluebeam Revu comes with a built-in tool chest functionality, which allows you to build and structure your own custom tools. And just kind of give you guys an idea, you'll see here that I've got, like I said, we do create our own tool chest items that you can use and work with in here. All right, and you can see that we've got our own one that we've done here for ZenTek Revu tools. So if I want to do a ceiling finish, for example, I can go into this room and say, hey, I'm doing the ceiling right in here, right? And I'm just going to go in, I'm going to do the ceiling area. And you see right there, it comes in with predefined notes. So I can just go in and I can easily now tie this to a finish schedule. So this is ceiling type, you know, A1, right? Just like that, right? And then I can go in and I can do other ceilings in other areas, right? Using a general ceiling display option, right? And you see it's very easy to just kind of work your way right around a room, right? And say, hey, that's ceiling type B right there, okay? And then I can tie those to finish schedules, or I can completely change that and say, I'm not tying this to a finish schedule, right? I can actually change that and say this is a, you know, 2x2 drop ceiling. So you can either do it by text or by, you know, tying it to a schedule, right? And again, I apologize for my typing, not that good there. Take the extra D out of there, come on, okay? Right? So to go along with that, right, you can see that as you're measuring areas, it's actually keeping a summation for you of the individual areas. But because I'm sorting by label, it's also giving me a summary for all the different ceiling types and flooring types that I have. Right? So you can see this right now, this is ceiling type A1. If I were to do another ceiling type A1, right, and I'm just going to throw another room at random here, right, and I'll throw another ceiling type A1 here, right, for this particular room. I'll make that also an A1, right? You see that it now ties them together, okay, that I actually have two areas of ceiling type A1. One is the 93 square feet, which is that one. The other is 190 square feet. And you see it's actually giving me a total of material for what I have here. And what's great about that is that you can also, with Bluebeam Revu, build your own custom columns to keep track of all the information you need when you're doing your quantity takeoffs. So I can do simple things, right, like adding in materials, right? Different types of materials, different material costs, cost for square footage. And I can actually have it do calculations for me going from one to the next. You know, so I can, you know, specify my material and I can put in what it costs and then have it calculate the total costs, okay? I can do other things, right, with my custom columns. Sorry, I'm just going to minimize this down here. So you see I can go in as I start to do these things. I can put in wall finishes and ceiling finishes, right? I can set different valve types, you know, different types of pipe classifications. I can build any type of information that I need right here into these custom columns, right? And I can either, you know, import the Bluebeam, or excuse me, the ZenTek Revu tools that we have here, or you can actually build your own custom tool chest that you can distribute throughout your own company, so that everybody in your company is using the same setup. And that's actually a service that we offer here at ZenTek. Like I said, we do have a number of kind of predefined industry standard tool sets that we use for basic things like, windows, doors, lighting, finishes, etc. We have a number of different industries that we have set up, but we can always work with you to help you build your specific custom tools so that you get the same output on every project when you're doing any type of estimating or quantity takeoff. All right, so that's the idea of poly lengths and areas. You can even do the same thing with volumes. All right, so if I wanted to come in here and do a volume takeoff, maybe I was doing a 4-inch soil strip off of this lot. Right? I can just come in and draw a volume just going around the perimeter of this lot here. Right? And you see it's giving me 6610 cubic feet. Well, that's because I actually already have it set here for a 6-inch depth, but I can actually control volumes just the same way. I can go in and call this a soils subject, right? And I can do a 4-inch stripping, okay? And I can just change my depth to 4-inch, and just like that, you see it's recalculating for me the cubic footage. I can even come in here and I can change the volumes. So if I want to switch it to be cubic yards, cubic meters, cubic centimeters, cubic inches, whatever I'm working on, I can modify all of these, the area and the volume outputs. Really, really powerful tool in that respect. Not only that, but I can actively come in. And let's say, for example, I'm just going to real quick, I won't even bother drawing this, but let's say there was a building in here that we need to deduct, that area from our stripping map. I can come in and just generate a cutout, right? So I'm just going to do a polygonal cutout here and say, hey, there's a building over there. Now watch, right now it's at 1959, but when I put in the building, see it automatically deducts that area from my cubic yard, my volume calculation, right? And then that actually now becomes an active part of this takeoff. So if the building size changed, if there was a design change, right, or they went out and they finally got survey information on the building and it was actually a little bit bigger and at more of an angle, so I can adjust and change that as I need, and you see that the number will update in real time for me. And again, I get all the same display properties and options for my volumes that I would for anything else. Okay, so the other thing that's really, really nice is that you can perform counts with Bluebeam Revu. So what do I mean by that? So say, for example, on this floor plan, you see I've got a number of computers, right? Basic counts allow me to go in, right, and just actually go in and start counting, going, I have 1, I have 2, I have 3. And you see it's giving me a running count of these. Right? And I can come in and just like anything else, I can give them a subject and a label. So maybe I'm doing floor outlets, wherever there is this computer symbol, right? And I call those, I don't know, we'll call them dual gang. Okay, so they're dual gang floor outlets that we're doing. Okay, and you can see right here, I've got them counted, they're all grouped, and it's giving me a running total down here in the bottom. See, here's my dual gang outlets. I have 4 of those, right? That makes sense. So it's an easy way to manually go in and handle those. And you can use different symbols, whatever symbols you want, right? And what's great about that is that when you build your tool chest, so you got that tool chest symbol. I know it's going off my screen here just a little bit. I'll minimize it just so you guys can see it. That I can use all of the different symbols that I built into like our ZenTek Revu tools, or that you build in your custom tool chest. We can use any of those. So if I were to come back and say, hey, those were all full cabinets at that location. See, just like that, I was able to apply the full cabinet symbol to that. Right? But one of the other things that's actually really powerful is that it's fully built in with Bluebeam, and for measurement, you can actually do visual searches. So if I just want to go in and find every instance where this computer happens, whether it's on my current document and every page, if this is a multi-page PDF, I can even do 30 or 40 different PDFs and search them all at once. That does take a while. So for today, we're just going to do the current deck, and I'm just going to let it search. Right? And it'll take a second as it goes through and it's searching for every instance of this computer symbol. And what's great about Bluebeam is that it's not only going to find that computer symbol, but it's going to take into account every varied rotation. So you see here it found all of them, right? And it has a bunch of them that are actually rotated to different directions. So what's nice about this, okay, so it found them all, so what do I do? Well, what I'm going to do now is actually just go ahead and I'm going to apply a count measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to put a triangle on each and every one of those. And that triangle is going to be our duplex outlet. And I just click my triangle option. And you see, just like that, it found every single instance throughout my entire plan right? And I can just click on the properties for that and go back to the properties tab, right? And like I said, right on this, I can go, whoop, it's kind of, there we go, click that, right? And I can change my subject back to, what did I say I was doing before? I forget. Did I say electrical? We'll just call it electrical power, okay? And we'll, call that a floor outlet, okay? Just like that, you can go now and you can see, keeping track, I have 54 floor outlets. Certainly, and again, it was a little bit slow because I'm doing a video screen share and I have all you folks online here today. So you see how very, very quickly and easily it is to go in and search for standard symbols that exist only in the underlying PDF and handle your counts and your measurements that way. Real great functionality built within Bluebeam Revu. Okay. And the other tool that I wanted to show you, and I'm actually going to just erase some stuff here just to kind of clean it up. I'm just going to delete these from the drawing. And this is, as I said, one of the areas where it really is only in the extreme version. It's the concept of dynamic fill. And what's great about dynamic fill, right, is particularly useful when you have odd shaped areas like a cul-de-sac here or these weird shaped setups where you don't want to have to keep picking objects, right, and measuring out, point to point to point to point to point. It gives you the ability to actually come in here and just do a flood fill. And you see that I can just kind of grab in here and you see it will fill inside of it. And then from there, you notice that on this toolbar, I have poly lengths, areas, volumes, right? And you see what's great about this is it actually gives me not just the standard properties, right, the default properties, but any of the objects that are area-based that I have created in my current tool chests. I can use those, right? Any of the volumes that I have in my current tool chest, I can use those. So if I just wanted to go in and again, I know this is a roadway, but if I wanted to go in and apply a floor finish in there, right? I can just set floor finish. And I can even go in and I could set, right, a poly length measurement or a perimeter measurement. So if I say, hey, let's do a trim finish around that as well. Notice that I can actually go in and I can apply both of those takeoffs in one shot. So I get the perimeter and the floor measurement, right? Which is absolutely amazing, right? So that's the kind of thing that you can do with Bluebeam Revu and your takeoffs. Right? It's a really wonderful way to be able to go in and build and structure all your information the way that you want it. You can even go so far as what we do with our ZenTek Revu tools, right? To be able to go in, you notice I can use them as layer controls, just like I could a CAD system. I can structure the tools so that you see here I've got my summary of my outside, right? And then I can turn that off and turn on just the interiors. Okay, so I can actually perform layer controls here for my measurements and takeoffs as well. All right, and then like I said, beyond that, I can do just basic measurements for diameter, angles, radius, and so on. So that's just kind of an overview. Like I said, I wanted to point out to you guys and let you guys know today the capabilities of Bluebeam Revu and what you can do with it on the measurement side. It's really got a lot of functionality. And again, this is an extremely high level view we went through. It does way more than that. I barely scratched the surface of what you can do with it. Really, it's about the only estimating and quantity takeoff tool that you need. And it works very, very beautifully with PDFs from any other format. And it even has built-in ability for you to be able to collaborate with these and do these measurements in real time between the field and the office, which we didn't even really touch on today. So that's the kind of thing to keep in your mind. So just a couple other things for those of you who are already comfortable with Bluebeam Revu. We do actually have a Bluebeam Revu for advanced users where we really get into really project management and project level controls and administrative controls for Bluebeam. And we have that class starting this Thursday, February 1st. It's going to be presented as 4 2-hour classes once a week. And you can see the description of what the classes are. And if you want to see more, you can hit our website to see those. And if you really want to learn more about the estimating and takeoff and the measurement tools that we really talked about today, we have a class coming up starting on March 1st. And again, it's an 8-hour class that we present as 4 2-hour sessions once a week. And that will begin on Thursday, March 1st, right, is our next scheduled session of that. And we're going to cover measurement, takeoffs, properties, markups list, including spaces and places, and really get into much more depth and really give you guys the full-blown how-to in working with quantity takeoff and so on within Bluebeam. So if you guys have any questions, you can hit our website to find out more about that. And these are public classes, open to everyone. But if you have your own staff that you'd really want to focus in and work with just them, we also offer custom classes. to all of our clients. So if you wanted to do the takeoff and estimating only for your own folks, we're happy to arrange that to you, so long as you meet some of our attendance requirements. And again, you can get all that information on our website. So if there's anything else that you guys have questions about, you can either reach out to myself. My email is up here on the screen, or you can reach out to sales@zentekconsultants.net. We'll be happy to answer your questions. And other than that, I hope you guys got a good idea of what you can do in Bluebeam Revu for measurement and takeoff. And I want to thank you guys for spending the time with us today. And I will talk to you the next time. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.